Imagine waking at dawn, the air sharp with frost, your breath curling like smoke in the dim light of a cave. You're not alone. Soft murmurs ripple through the group as they stir, their silhouettes flickering against the glow of a smoldering fire. Outside, a vast icy landscape stretches under a sky heavy with stars. This is no scene of brutish survival, no caricature of grunting cavemen clubbing their way through a savage world. This is the life of a people who thrived in a frozen age, whose ingenuity and resilience whisper truths we've long misunderstood. Why do we picture our Ice Age ancestors as dim-witted, fur-clad nomads, scraping by in a world of endless struggle? The answer lies in a story we've told ourselves, one shattered by a single, astonishing discovery, a frozen body, preserved for millennia, that reveals a life far richer, far wiser, than we ever imagined. Let's step into that world. Some 20,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, when ice sheets smothered much of Europe and North America, popular culture paints these people as primitive, their days a blur of hunting and huddling against the cold. But that's a distortion, born from 19th century assumptions about progress that cast our ancestors as lesser, their lives a mere prelude to civilization. The truth: these were communities of remarkable sophistication, their days woven with purpose, skill, and meaning. The frozen body, let's call him Oren. A name inspired by the golden resilience of his people, tells us how. Found in a melting alpine glacier, his remains, studied through meticulous archaeological and isotopic analysis, open a window into a life that defies our stereotypes. Picture Oren rising with his clan. His clothing, far from crude hides, is a masterwork of craftsmanship. Excavations of similar sites, like those in the Czech Republic's Dolní Věstonice, reveal tailored garments of woven plant fibers and animal sinew, adorned with beads carved from mammoth ivory. Oren's tunic, stitched with bone needles finer than a modern sewing pin, hugs his frame, layered with a fur-lined parka. His boots, insulated with grass and leather, bear the wear of long treks across tundra. Chemical traces on his gear, analyzed through mass spectrometry, show he used plant-based dyes to mark his clothing, perhaps a symbol of status or belonging. This wasn't a man dressed for mere survival. This was someone who cared about beauty, identity, and function. What did Oren eat to fuel his day? We've all heard the trope, cavemen gnawing on raw mammoth haunches, their diets a monotonous slog of meat. But isotopic studies of bones from Oren's era, conducted across sites like Germany's Wogelhord cave, paint a different picture. His diet was diverse, a balance of protein from hunted game reindeer, ibex, and hare, and foraged plants like berries, roots, and wild grains. Grinding stones found in nearby camps, etched with starch residues, suggest his people processed plants into flour, perhaps baking flatbreads on hot stones. Oren's stomach contents, preserved in his frozen gut, even hint at medicinal herbs, like yarrow, used to soothe ailments. This wasn't a diet of desperation. It was a cuisine born of deep ecological knowledge, a testament to people who read their landscape like a living library. Now let's follow Oren as he moves through his day. The stereotype of the solitary hunter, stalking prey with a spear, crumbles under the weight of evidence. Oren's people hunted in teams, their strategies, as intricate as any modern playbook. At sites like France's Lascaux, archaeologists uncovered bone tools and spear points designed with detachable heads, engineered for reuse, a kind of early modular technology. Oren's spear, its shaft balanced for throwing, was likely paired with an otlot, a lever that amplified his strength, sending projectiles with lethal precision. But hunting was only part of the story. His clan's survival hinged on cooperation, not just among hunters, but across the group. Women, men, and even children shared tasks: gathering, crafting, tending, fires, each role vital to the whole. Ethnographic parallels with modern hunter-gatherers, like the San of southern Africa, suggest Oren's community valued every member's contribution. Their social bonds as strong as any family today. What about their minds? We often assume Ice Age people lacked the spark of creativity, their thoughts consumed by survival. Yet Oren's world was alive with art and meaning. The caves of Chauvet and Altamira, adorned with vivid paintings of bison and horses, weren't mere doodles, but expressions of a complex worldview. Oren's own belongings, a flute carved from a vulture's bone, found near his body, suggest music filled their evenings, perhaps accompanying stories or rituals. Portable carvings, like the Venus figurines from Willendorf, hint at spiritual beliefs, maybe tied to fertility or the cycles of nature. These weren't the works of a primitive mind. They reflect a people who pondered their place in the cosmos, who wove beauty into the fabric of their lives. How did Oren's tools and skills shape his community's survival? His people didn't just endure the Ice Age, they mastered it. Archaeological digs at sites like Russia's Kostenki reveal semi-permanent settlements, with mammoth bone structures insulated by hides and sod. These weren't crude shelters but engineered homes, warm enough to withstand sub-zero winters. Oren's clan used fire with precision, not only for warmth but for cooking, tool-making, and even hardening wooden spears. Charcoal analysis from hearths shows they managed fuel sources carefully, balancing immediate needs with long-term supply. Their technology's stone blades, fish hooks, nets woven from plant fibers wasn't static, but evolved through experimentation, passed down through generations. This was a society that planned, innovated, and thrived in one of Earth's harshest climates. As we linger on Arain's life, a question emerges: why does his sophistication surprise us? Perhaps it's because we've been taught to see history as a straight line, each era better than the last. But Arain's people challenged that notion. Their lives were not a stepping stone to our world, but a complete, successful adaptation to theirs. Their civilization wasn't marked by cities or writing, but by resilience, creativity, and a harmony with their environment we struggle to match today. Arain's body, with its scars of healed injuries and traces of a life well lived, tells us they cared for each other, nursed the wounded, and mourned their dead. Their wisdom lay not in dominating nature but in understanding it. Knowledge we risk losing in our rush for progress. Let's pause here, not to step back, but to lean closer. Arain's life invites us to rethink what it means to be human. His people didn't just survive, they built a world of meaning, connection, and ingenuity. What lessons can we draw from them? In a world of fleeting trends and fragile systems, their resilience offers a mirror. They remind us that strength lies in community, that wisdom grows from listening to the land, and that progress isn't always measured in machines or monuments. As we face our own challenges, climate shifts, fractured societies, perhaps Arain's legacy can guide us. His frozen body isn't just a relic, it's a call to rediscover the roots of our humanity, to honor the ancestors whose ingenuity still echoes in our bones. So, what does Arain's life ask of us? It's not enough to marvel at his people's ingenuity or to nod at their resilience. Their story demands we look harder at our own world, at the assumptions we carry about what makes a life meaningful. Arain's clan didn't chase progress for its own sake. They built a world that worked, one where every tool, every meal, every song served a purpose deeper than survival. Their days were shaped by a rhythm we've nearly forgotten: dance with the land, with each other, that sustained them through an age of ice. As we stand in our own time, with glaciers melting once more and the future uncertain, their legacy isn't just a curiosity, it's a challenge. Can we learn to live with such purpose, such balance, before the lessons of the past slip through our fingers? Consider the way Arain's people moved through their world. They didn't dominate their environment. They wove themselves into it. Archaeological evidence from sites like Ukraine's Prehistoric shows they built homes from the bones of mammoths, not by slaughtering herds but by scavenging what the land provided. Their tools, studied through microscopic wear analysis, reveal a precision born of necessity: blades sharpened to split sinew, scrapers shaped to soften hides. These weren't the reckless extractions we associate with progress today. They took only what they needed, their footprint light despite the weight of their lives. Compare that to our own era, where resources vanish faster than we can replace them. What might we learn from a people who thrived for millennia without breaking the world that held them? Their social world, too, holds a mirror to ours. Our clan wasn't a hierarchy of kings and subjects, but a web of shared roles. Skeletal remains from sites like Sunjir in Russia show men, women, and children buried with equal care, their graves adorned with thousands of ivory beads, offerings that suggest every life mattered. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherers, like the Hadza of Tanzania, echo this. Decisions were made together, knowledge shared across generations. Arain's people didn't need written laws to cooperate. Their survival depended on trust, on the unspoken pact that every hand strengthens the whole. In our age of division, where communities fracture under the weight of ideology or wealth, could we find strength in their example? Could we rebuild bonds that endure not through power, but through mutual need? Let's linger on their ingenuity, because it's here that Arain's world truly dazzles. The tools found near his body, flint knives, a bone awl, a net woven from nettle fibers, weren't just functional. They were the product of a restless, curious mind. Useware studies on similar artifacts show they were multi-purpose, designed for tasks from fishing to sewing. These weren't one-off inventions, but part of a tradition, refined over generations. At sites like Spain's El Midón, Cabe archaeologists found evidence of early weaving, with plant fibers twisted into cords, strong enough for snares or baskets. Arain's people didn't have metal or machines, but they had something just as powerful: the ability to see potential in the world around them. A bone became a needle, a stone, a blade, a cave, a canvas. How often do we, surrounded by technology, overlook the raw materials of our own creativity? Their art, too, speaks of a depth we rarely credit. The flute near Arain's body, its holes drilled with precision, wasn't a luxury but a necessity, as vital as food or fire. Music, like the paintings in Lascaux's caves, bound their community, gave shape to their fears and hopes. Research suggests such rituals sharpen their minds, fostering the social cohesion that let them face the Ice Age's brutal winters. Arain's people didn't create for fame or profit. They created to understand, to connect, to endure. In our world, where art often serves commerce or distraction, their example feels radical. What if we made space for creation that feeds the soul, that reminds us who we are? But let's not romanticize them. Arain's life was hard. His bones, scanned through CT imaging, show stress fractures from long hunts, teeth worn from chewing tough roots. His people faced starvation, disease, the ever-present threat of a storm that could bury their fire. Yet they didn't just survive, they flourished. Their adaptability, their refusal to be defined by hardship, is what sets them apart. When the climate shifted, they followed new herds, learned new plants, reshaped their tools. This wasn't blind instinct, but a deliberate, collective intelligence. In our own time, as we grapple with warming skies and rising seas, their resilience offers not just inspiration but a blueprint. Change is coming, as it always has. The question is whether we can meet it with the same courage. Frozen for millennia isn't just a relic of a lost world. It's a bridge to a truth we've buried under myths of progress and superiority. His people weren't primitive, they were us human, flawed, brilliant, striving. They built a life that worked, not for a season or a century, but for tens of thousands of years. Their legacy lives in the crops we still grow, the stories we still tell, the instinct to gather and share. To honor them isn't to mimic their lives but to learn from their wisdom. They teach us that survival is more than connection, creativity, a refusal to let the world's weight break you. So, as you listen to this, let Arain's story settle in your bones. Think of the choices you make, the communities you build, the world you leave behind. His people didn't need skyscrapers to be great. They needed each other, the land, a spark of ingenuity that lit the dark. We stand on their shoulders, but do we see what they saw? The next time you walk through a forest, taste a meal, or hear a song, remember them. They're not going there in you, in the pulse of a world they shaped. Let's live in a way that makes them proud, that carries their fire forward, because if they could thrive in an age of ice, we can face whatever comes next. Their story isn't over. It's ours to continue.